what exactly does this China crackdown mean? Is it as bad as it sounds?
No, I mean, look, it's kind of weird because China's like cracking down on crypto every few months, it seems like. Literally every month, it's like, oh, China's about to ban Bitcoin. China's about to crack down. There is, one thing that we knew was coming for a while, which is the sort of purging of a lot of miners, and that hash power seems to have come offline. That's been expected for a while. That will likely move somewhere else, shouldn't have a big effect. As for the crackdown on some trading, there was a Bloomberg story in 2013 saying the same thing. According to our reporting, what happened now is more they had a call, the regulators had a call with some of the banks and said, we mean this seriously. So I guess there was some behavior that they didn't like going on. But, I feel like we're going to be living with China's cracking down on crypto headlines for like the rest of our lives.
And Bitcoin has officially formed a death cross. You're going to explain some of the technicals there and what exactly that means. But does that hint at more pain to come?
Yeah, so significant losses on Monday. This is where the 50-day moving average falls below the 200-day moving average. Normally for a security, this is a pretty bearish signal. You see it on the right-hand side of your screen where the pink line falls below the yellow or golden line. But Bitcoin is not a typical security. All we can do is look to past precedent. We did get this death cross in March 2020, but it was no impediment to further gains. We saw shares go up after that point. Back in November 2019, another death cross. That 1 month later, Bitcoin was significantly lower. So chartists are trying to work out what this all means. The other thing that we're pointing to a lot at the moment is this more narrow trading range. Bitcoin struggling to push above 40,000 US dollars and kind of teetering towards 30,000 US dollars. The next phase of the concern is what happens if we breach 30,000? Will there be support there, or will Bitcoin see dramatic falls?
All right. Joe, we're still waiting, of course, also for the big decision from the SEC on Bitcoin ETFs. Yeah. You've been talking with policymakers. You just had a conversation with Elizabeth Warren. I mean, is the fact that there is a delay here, does that signal perhaps that the U.S. could take a more difficult stance on crypto to come?
It always seems like the hope, the dream, that's always like right around the corner, and the industry keeps getting disappointed. It seems like it's not, I don't know, like I don't have any special inside information, but it does seem like no one is in a real big hurry in D.C. to get it done. That it's clear there are a lot of concerns about crypto for all kinds of reasons. There are concerns about the regulations of the exchanges themselves. There are concerns about their transparency. Of course, all the recent headlines about, say, ransomware and so forth, they don't help either. So, I just don't think anyone in D.C., the SEC, feels like some big rush to create a new avenue for trading and liquidity in this product. Now, of course, some would argue this is exactly what we need. We need something exchange traded. We need something that someone can buy from their Ameritrade accounts as opposed to having to go somewhere else. So there are certainly arguments on both sides. But right now, it just keeps these series of delays look like a very familiar pattern that the industry has seen for a while.
Yeah, Joe, our colleagues at Bloomberg Intelligence out with research on Monday saying that the rationale behind the SEC's decision to not approve Bitcoin ETFs is confusing, because if you look at other jurisdictions outside of the US, Bitcoin ETFs have worked really well. They are a cheaper, efficient way for a bigger pool of investors to access or get exposure to Bitcoins. And if you look at the alternatives, some of them are complex, right? You could invest in a stock like MicroStrategy, where they have large holdings of Bitcoin. You could invest in a trust where the securities are all invested against Bitcoin, or even, something like going through a crypto platform. But the fees are so high. So basically, Bloomberg Intelligence saying they question the rationale of the SEC. Potentially, this could be indicative that a bigger regulatory framework's coming, a bigger US clampdown, and it's not so much about consumer protections.
So, Joe, on that note, obviously, Bitcoin up 13% year to date. It's not great. Gold is significantly lower, but, getting outshined by a lot of other options out there. What are the narratives in the communities of normally fervent believers that you're hearing?
I mean, I think there's a lot of things. Look, one of the things that we see in crypto cycles, which is that as Bitcoin rockets higher, Suddenly there's like a flood of new coins that everyone in the industry is trying to sell you. Coinbase listing last week a parity coin to Dogecoin about a few weeks after they listed Dogecoin in the first place. It has the effect of sort of blunting the buying power. So the momentum starts to fade because instead of the money going into one coin or two coins, it goes into all the coins. Then there's the lack of further institutional adoption. You know, after Tesla and MicroStrategy, I think a lot of people were expecting multiple companies to announce that they were going to put Bitcoin on their balance sheet. Not really that much. That sort of fizzled out. And look, eventually lines go straight up, and some people are sitting on life-changing amounts of money, and they're like, maybe I'll sell a little bit because I want to live, you know, I want to retire early. And then that causes other people to sell, and so there's a lot of reflexivity with all cryptocurrencies, momentum in both directions. So it's very easy for crypto narratives to change, and I just think a few things going one way or the other way, suddenly, you know, look, 13%, it's not that bad. It's still pretty good, but it feels very different than it did in March and April.
So, Ed, I wonder, is Bitcoin losing its reputation as the anti-establishment option? Because, you know, look, there are, as I said, other options out there.
Yeah, Joe's pointing out, well, we've talked about China crackdown before, but a China crackdown is what's driving the market on Monday. You know, sometimes an Elon Musk tweet, when we had the Colonial Pipeline ransomware attack, for example, you know, one of the main takeaways from that story was how easily the FBI were able to use the blockchain technology, the ledger, to retrieve some of those ransoms that have been paid in Bitcoin. You know, there's also the discussion around El Salvador making it legal tender, but all of this points to how heavily the involvement of sort of old-fashioned central institutions is in the market of Bitcoin right now, as well as all of the retail trade that's going on as well.